What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Essential Scares podcast, the only show that dares to ask the question, is it essential? I am your host, Corbin, and with me, as always, is Alan.
Good evening.
I thought we banned good evening.
I don't have anything else original to come up with, so
that's
all you get.
You've had all this time, and you couldn't come up with any other introduction?
No. See, I have no creativity. I am just absolutely bankrupt of creativity and spontaneity.
Wow, that is a yikes sandwich. And also, Bobby.
What's up? It's your boy, the Bone Boy, selling bones and taking bones.
See?
Are they your currency?
Yes.
It's all bones.
So are the worms.
Okay, good to know.
Oh, man. Well, we've got quite a show coming for you today. We are going to finally discuss the long-awaited episode on Scream 5, or rather, Scream 2022.
Or, as guest of the show, Ben says, 5 cream.
Don't like that.
I didn't either.
I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. Well, you know what? Let's just jump right into it with Bobby's spoiler warning.
Yep, this will serve as your first one and only spoiler warning for the brand new film, Scream 5, Scream 2022, or 5 Cream. If you do not want that movie it's growing on me. If you do not want that movie spoiled for you, skip to the time code in the description for our essential spoiler-free discussion.
Bobby's just trying to say cream more often on air.
Shh, don't tell him. Don't. Scream 5 made me hate the way I talk about movies. Alan.
Oh. Now, I want you to imagine, all right? Imagine. I'm going to take you guys on a ride, all right? I'm going to wait for Corbin to compose himself because he is...
No, go over me.
Okay, so there's a black screen, all right? That's your visualization. And everything I'm about to say is going to be coming from the bottom of the screen up towards you in what some would call a crawl. Does this make sense? Do you understand where I'm going? Okay. Ghostface has vanished. Ghostface has vanished. And in his absence, mediocre slasher villains have risen from the ashes of the horror genre and will not rest until Ghostface, the last slasher villain, has been destroyed. With the support of horror fans worldwide, Paramount leads a brave resistance, desperate to find Ghostface and restore the meta-slasher to fame and fortune. Paramount has sent the most daring director on a secret mission to theaters where old horror fans have discovered a clue to Ghostface's whereabouts. This is all a bit of a diatribe to say that, much like this movie says, this is effectively the Star Wars Episode 7 of the Scream films. And I mean that in pretty much only the positive way, and not necessarily the negative way. This movie has some returning classics and a new cast of characters that takes a bit of a twist on the intro to a Scream film, and also keeps us going. You know, we see how our characters evolve over time. We see some changes from 4 to 5. And we see how this movie kind of goes back to the beginning and really tells a similar story to Scream 1, but still manages, I think, to tell its own story. That's my brief synopsis of Scream 5, without spoiling too much.
This is the spoiler cast, my guy.
I know,
yeah,
but
could have said whatever you wanted.
I don't want to give it all up right in the synopsis.
Dewey dies.
It's so good, too. Like,
they killed Dewey.
It's the best kill. It's the best kill.
It's professional wrestler, WCW champion David Arquette dies.
No lies have been spoken.
Brutal. Like, that's one thing right off the top. Bobby and I talked about this a little bit. He specifically said it, is this movie benefits from modern gore immensely.
Yeah. I thought about that going in. I was like,
modern gore technology was the words I used.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even just that the intro non-kill, like I kind of said, the bit of a twist on the intro to a Scream film, like the stab through the hand of Tara. Oh my God, it's so good. Like just it really played with that a lot, because Corbin's going to give me shit a little bit at some point during this film. it seems like in the earlier films, you really don't necessarily see as much of the stabbings. A lot of them are kind of obscured. Like, you'll see, like, but, like, this film really goes into just seeing every, like, knife stab that you could ever want from Ghostface. And I'm all here for it.
And even in that beginning, but, like, all the way through, Jenna Ortega is kind of fucking killing it in the horror scene right now. And, Babysitter Killer Queen, like... And now this, I think she's been in some other stuff too, but like she's really good. Like she's a really good horror actress for sure.
Yeah.
And probably just a really good actress in general, but I've only ever seen her in horror stuff, I think. So, horror actress. Which this movie is just really I really fucking enjoyed it. But I wanted to mention like that first scene is super harrowing. And also made me really... I found myself being like... They use the term elevated horror. I'm like, it was that fucking... I do that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden...
The first time that they say elevated horror, I was like, wow, okay, I guess we are going to go there. And then, I mean, they wrap it in again with like the diatribe about fandoms in the end. But like, that's why that terminology even exists, right? Yeah. And I don't know how you guys feel about the term elevated horror, right? But it's always felt like one of those awkward like throwaway terms you had to like create as a community so that people
would take horror
outside of the community would take horror seriously. So it's like, oh, it's not just a horror movie, like it's elevated horror, like you had to like
inherently... Sorry, go ahead.
No, what?
It inherently feels kind of like pedantic, it's like, oh yeah, this is elevated. Like it kind of has it out of your mouth. It sounds so pretentious. Like it just sounds so like, oh, of course, that's like the thought process.
But like, I mean, at the same time, like you know what movies you're talking about when you say that, which is like almost like the negative side of it. Like when you say that term, like the list of movies that they rattle off in Scream 5, like
the Babadook,
she says elevated horror, and then she lists like, I was like, damn, like that's really every one. Like those are the ones. Like,
when I remember the first, like even like going into like before the Babadook, because the Babadook kind of was like one of the movies that's kind of set that tone. Because I remember watching that with you in college in my dorm room, and like, but like. There is a weird thing about that because it's almost like it allows you to keep your street cred as somebody who takes film and art seriously because horror is so often considered schlock and like a B tier thing. Yep. So like me, who I'm an artiste, I can, and I'm a pretentious asshole. I can be like, yeah, I like horror, but I like that elevated stuff. I like elevated horror. I like the witch or the vitch. Right, I like these things, and I do not like. I don't like, and I don't like crappy stuff. Like I don't like the Silent Hill remakes, the Resident Evil movies remakes, which is who I was for a really long time. And God damn it, I think you've turned me on a lot of these movies because they're just so fucking stupid.
Corbin, we just got to get them on Friday. That's all we got to get.
I don't even know. I don't. The more I watch those movies, I don't even know if I want to be on Friday. Like I was just talking to Jill about this on the way home from seeing Scream today. Yeah. And we were talking about specifically because this movie is, and it's mentioned even in the movie, but the meta angle of this movie, of course, is that it's the Scream version of like the Halloween 2018, right? The long decades later sequel.
The second long decades away sequel.
Yeah, but the last one was like the reboot play, and this one is the requel as they called it.
Eloquently.
Oh my god, it's a requel.
Yeah. Yep. And it got us talking about other slashers, and we were like, she even said like, the only one that I really can't get into is Friday, and I was like, yeah, because it's like the worst one, like, like out of all the big franchises, like it's just. Like, the only reason you like Friday is because, like, you like Jason and you like the kills. Like, the rest of it is really not very good. But I think that's something that Scream as a franchise really has like, a leg up on. And it carries through with this one. Is that, like, you always care about the characters, you always care about the story. You know, you have these recurring characters for 25 years. And I think that a strength of Scream as a franchise is that it hasn't rebooted. You know, we don't have any of these like restarts. Like we do have this continuous storyline.
I mean, they even mentioned Scream 4 in this movie.
Yeah, they made mention to
the last
all
time
of them.
this happened was in 2011.
Yeah. Which was super
Judy
cool.
is inherently a character from Scream 4. Like, that whole tying her into the plot of this movie, like, there's about as a direct connection as you can get with her as a character. So.
Yeah, for sure.
They're, like, this movie is unabashedly not elevated horror.
For sure. I mean, like, how could it be, right? After they talk down to elevated horror for just a quick minute, like I appreciated that scene for this movie's sake.
I don't even think they're making fun of like the idea of elevated horror. I think they're making fun of the idea of like it being something that makes a good horror movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because you said talk down to elevated horror. I'm like, I don't think they're insulting.
They're absolutely making fun of like the term, the concept.
Oh,
like,
yes. But not the movies, yeah.
Yeah, because they have to, like, you know, they're punching themselves up, right? They're bringing themselves up. And obviously after a scene like that, you couldn't possibly then present an elevated horror movie. Like, that would be almost too ridiculous.
Yeah. You can't produce movies where the worst scenes are the scenes where they're all sitting around the breakfast table or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But there are some really good moments of, like, high tension in this.
For sure.
And there's some very, very earned laughs, and some of them are in the kills.
Yeah.
Like, the first time I laughed out loud, and again, I watched this movie in a movie theater by myself, and there were people, like, all around me, and I could feel eyes on me when I laughed for the first time, because I was one of those, like, type laughs.
What got you?
It was the first kill of the movie, but like the second, like, first gore thing where he just, like, it's like the guy with the mustache and just really quickly they're just like, what the fuck? Like that I was just laughing my ass off because I was just like, that was so fucking brutal but so quick. Like,
well, and like another laugh that got me pretty good is when Dewey, Sam, and Richie are all sitting down, and Dewey just calls it right from the get-go. Well, as the boyfriend, how long have you known him? 6 months? You're the killer. Just great. Like, just because it feels earned because it's Dewey.
And the callback,
4
too.
movies of this shit.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it ties and works together really, really well. Also, when Richie then calls him Discount Sam Elliott, I got just real good chuckle out of that one. You know,
Jack Quaid fucking killed it in this movie too.
Oh, absolutely.
He's great. I mean, he's great at everything I've seen him in. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I do not. Yeah. Jack Quaid's even great in his bit role in Auntie Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun. That's right. I brought an Auntie Donna reference into this. You should watch that show. It's a very funny sketch comedy.
I figured the furthest I was going to go is just The Boys. You know, I didn't think.
Yeah. Which, hey,
the obvious,
yeah,
he's great in The Boys. You should watch The Boys if you don't watch it already.
Yeah, but and Auntie Donna's Big Ol' House of Fun.
Well,
but let's bring it back. Let's go back to going back to the beginning, because I think this is a new movie. People want to see it. Yeah, I know.
See what you did there.
Pun intended. This is a new movie. People want to kind of take this kind of plot point by plot point, right? So they get the same, and in the same way that Alan said that this movie really is kind of like the Star Wars, The Force Awakens type movie, where it is hitting, it's a requel, so it's hitting a lot of those major plot points. Scene 1 starts out, it is essentially the trailer for this movie. But, unlike the trailer for this movie, we get that extra bit of really intense gore. How did we feel about the stuff that happens? How do we feel about the attack? And how do we feel about the fact that our victim survives?
I think it's a really interesting way to just try and do something different. While it's doing something different, but at the same time, it's exactly kind of what you would expect a Scream movie to do.
Okay.
You know, like they I think these movies in general are pretty good at subverting expectations.
Mhm.
And that's a pretty good one right out the gate. Like, because you go in, it's like, all right, well, Tara's done. It's over. You know, nice seeing you. Let's see how this plays out. And then we see that she gets away. And it's just inherently kind of makes you go, huh, what else is going to be different going forward if this is the baseline we're starting with? Where the beginning process is different than any of the other films in the franchise. So, big fan.
Okay. Corbin?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I mean, I think that there may have been a slight squander even of leaving her alive, and even something that we could see them retcon in a future movie. But it feels like the reasoning for her to stay alive was to get Sam back to Woodsboro, right?
Yeah. They
But
even said that.
I don't know that Tara needed to be alive for that to happen. Like, I think that they probably could have killed Tara and she still would have come back. And I think from a plot perspective, like, they probably could have done something with Tara being left alive for a better reason than that. Like, maybe she was in on it on some level, which of course she gets so brutalized in the beginning it almost makes no sense for her to be in on it.
But keep in mind,
I think I was
right?
expecting, yeah, exactly. I think I was expecting something, and I think that, like, if they were to do a sequel to this movie, I might still be looking for that. Like, I might expect her to be involved with something in a Scream 2.
Yeah.
That said, I think it was a really, really great way of doing the intro scene. I mean, we've seen the intro scene 5 times now. Literally every single movie has this same intro. And this is one of the best versions of it. They did a really, really great job, like, calling back without being too overly meta. Like, it's enjoyable in its own right, and I think that can be said for most of the movie. And then the gore, of course, is great. Like, I think that it sets the stage right away that they are fully going down the path of, like, a modern slasher in that way, and not, like, toning it down. Some of the other Scream movies kind of are a little bit toned down. Alan even mentioned that. So that I really appreciated. It was good.
Yeah, I kind of agree with all the points. I would say that we talk about these movies like, and like the first major horror bits of movies like this set the tone, and I feel like this movie sets the tone correctly. The gore is there, the tension is there, the humor is there, the fact that they're like, it's a teen slasher, it's all there, and it all works. Mm-hmm. Everything feels earned, and again, movies like this, we want it to feel earned. I also, as we're going through this, I want us to play a game. Okay, we all watch this movie, and as this movie so eloquently puts it itself, this movie is a whodunit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I want us to tell us when we first got the whodunit correct,
mm-hmm.
when we first doubted it, and if we ever came back to it, or if we stuck with that.
Yeah.
So, because I say this because I knew the first half of the whodunit pretty early on, and that part never left. Like, I wanted it not to be Richie so bad, but it was so clearly Richie from the beginning.
I totally agree with that. Like, from pretty early on, I was like, okay, it's obvious that they're gonna do 2 killers, because 4 out of 5 of the other movies had 2 killers. Or 4 out of 5 of them. 3 out of 4 of the other ones had 2 killers.
They definitely show that off because he shows up to the house and there's another person. So like they're showing that's supposed to be 2.
So it's like, okay, obviously there's 2 guys here. He is just so obvious from not just like the movie's perspective, but from the meta level, the callback, like, clearly it's going to be him. I definitely was hoping that he wouldn't be one. I kind of decided early on it was probably him, but I hope not. That was like my thought the whole time. It's like probably yes, but I really hope not. And I don't know. I think that never really changed with him. It's like, yeah, probably yes, but I do hope not. And I think it would have been cool if it wasn't him, but it makes too much sense for it not to.
Good.
Yeah.
I was super about it, but never knew. I knew who it was, and I knew it was both of them almost the entirety of the movie. So it ends up being Richie and Amber, who is
Amber,
like
yes.
who is the other, who is not Sam, but the other
Tara's friend.
Tara.
Yeah.
Tara's like best friend.
Yeah.
And I was like, my thought was it was going to be like the first season of You, where they were both obsessed with the sisters and they wanted to like totally isolate them.
That's what that's what Jill said too. She was like, "Oh, I thought it was Amber right away, but because she was so protective of Tara, that it was going to be like trying to cut everybody else out."
I thought they were going to try to make a one big happy family type thing, and like that was like them trying to be like, nobody else deserves you, nobody else needs you, just And so then you guys can go your separate ways, blah blah blah, and then we can just all be together and be happy.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was going to be. And so nobody else, because that's the thing with these Scream movies, is they're all crazy, they're all batshit insane, and nobody else had a better motive to me than that. So it was always them in the back of my head, and they were, one of them was always gone every single time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, it's got to be them. And then when they had the motive of they were fans, that became so much, because then all of a sudden it's not that he wasn't watching the Stab movies to get into to understand what's going on. He's watching the Stab movies because he's an obsessed fan.
Yeah.
And it becomes
he's like
so
hyping
cool.
himself up for the next kill.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that hot James A. Janice and that Dead Meat podcast.
Oh my god,
too.
I love
so
that.
good.
Yeah.
So
I will say I did think it was the chick with the pink hair. I don't remember what her name was.
Maggie thought
For a little bit, I was like, oh, I wonder if she's like the other one, because even though she has no motive, she's also, I believe, the only one besides Richie who's not related to someone from the originals or from any of the other movies. And so I thought, oh, maybe like she is playing an angle of like missing fame because she's the only one that's not already part of it. And so she's trying to like build her own story. Turned out she's just a victim, but
yeah. They all have, like, that's the thing about this movie that works better than some of the other movies, is they all have decent motive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's even a moment where you think, oh, it's Tara, like they're gonna do a Scream 4 where it's Tara and somebody else.
I also for a minute thought it might be Wes, but he died so early, so
yeah, he got it so bad too.
Yeah, seriously.
I didn't think they were gonna kill him, like, because they had so many of those fake outs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that was hilarious. I was laughing, man, after like the second or third time. It was just comedic.
I'm like, man, he's fine. They're not even gonna kill that kid. Like, he's just gonna make it through, and then nope.
And then he gets debatably the most gory kill out of anybody on screen. Oof.
I wouldn't say he gets the goriest kill on screen. I would say
Richie has a gorier kill than he does.
Richie has the goriest kill, and probably one of the coolest kills too.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much with that is just really fucking cool.
There's a whole key thing we haven't even mentioned yet.
There's several.
What's the key thing you want to mention?
Well, so Sam being the daughter of
Yes.
Billy Loomis, and then seeing Billy Loomis because
Oh,
she
I
has
loved
psychosis.
that. I loved that so much.
I am of two minds of this.
I'm Bobby. You and I are on the same path here. It's like I love it, but I really wish they would have done just something more with it. Like I said, that's not what I'm two minds about. Okay, so I thought specifically because they introduced that, and then shortly after, Sam gets attacked in the hospital, and in my head, I was like, what if she just had like a psychotic moment there and imagined all of that, because it kind of like seemed when she went and spoke to the police officers, they were like, what are you talking about? So, like, I don't know, they could have played with that a bit more, like that whole angle. I kind of wish they would have done something there.
I did think that first time when she's attacked in the hospital. I did think that, and then like
they're meant.
I don't know if it was.
To.
I don't know if it was me or just the way the movie was structured. I never thought that again. Every other time, I was like, okay, whatever.
Because she was always trying to stop it after that point.
Yeah, she was with somebody or trying to. Yeah, exactly.
So here's, I thought one fucking Skeet Ulrich coming back, homie fucking killed it, killed the game. They got him in that they deep faked his own face. It was cool. The weird thing about it is towards the end of the movie, they start playing him off in this like sympathetic, like good guy, like, hey, I'm your dad light. And that is so weird to me because he is in no way, shape, or form ever meant to be a role model. But I
think that that's so intentional because she is starting to just totally lose it.
You think the goal is she's going to become the new Ghostface?
For sure. I think that like in a sequel, like it, like let's say they made 1 or even 2 movies with the same core cast, like if she doesn't end up being a Ghostface, I would be shocked. I think that part of that is that she is kind of looking for a father figure. I think when she found out the truth about her dad, like she lost it with her stepdad, her adopted dad, technically, right? She has that psychosis, which is never really explained. I mean, like what? I guess it's because she did all those drugs, but
it might also be she might be just a psychotic. Like they talk about she's on antipsychotics, so.
And I think that when she first sees him, he's like threatening. He's the Billy Loomis that we see, and then as the movie progresses, she starts getting a little bit crazy, and he becomes more and more sympathetic. And even when she finally kills Richie, like she's so unhinged when she kills Richie.
Oh yeah, she does the thing. She does the ghost thing.
She has the glory shot of the knife in the air. She wipes the blade. Like we have never seen a main character get quite that vicious. All of our main characters have always stayed, despite murder, thoroughly on the right side of morality. And she, even though that kill is totally righteous, right? Like, she still is, like, going to, like, too far. Like, she's, like, a little bit crazy. Yeah, she's slipping into it.
After stabbing him 10 times.
It goes from defense to murder.
Yeah.
Like...
Exactly. So I think that, and I think that is why that's tied in with the sympathetic Billy, because, like, she's starting to maybe understand why some of those things might have happened.
Yes, I can understand that bit, but the way that
it's shown can be a little weird.
Yeah, well, because the way the music swells in like a happy ending when she's looking into the cop mirror and Billy's just like, yes, my daughter. Like that's like a weird like that. I get that, but like if I think a way to fix that would like it doesn't ruin the movie for me. I was still thoroughly enjoying this movie, but like a way to fix that would have been to give the music there at least a little bit of some dark undertones.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Yeah,
because I mean, like, again, fucking everybody killed it. Everybody except for, I'm gonna say it, except for Sam. Sam did not. The actress who played Sam did not kill it in this movie.
She did fine. She was fine, but she was oddly the weakest. Yeah,
she was the weak point. She was fine. She was good. She was not bad. I don't want to like like go after this actress too hard, but like for her being so
centered.
Yes,
yeah,
she seemed like a weaker point.
I agree with that. Especially like when some of those secondary characters are so good.
Yeah. The
Alan?
Twins were so fucking fantastic.
I was trying to avoid saying like, oh, I wish I saw more of the Twins. Like, I'm sure, but yeah, they were incredible.
With Sam, I think that kind of like that's like one of my notable things I didn't really like about this movie is the moments between her and Tara didn't really feel very earned in any capacity. they have these huge heart-to-heart moments. And I get the idea of like, oh, a murder occurred, people are dying, and it's bringing you together. Like, I can understand what they're trying to do. But every time one of those moments came up, I just kind of was like, can we move on here? They just didn't really grab me in any capacity. And part of that could have been the performance. Part of that could have just been it. I don't know.
Those are the parts where she worked for me the best. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, to me, it didn't work for me at all in those parts.
The parts that really didn't work with me with her was when she was doing like the sleuthing. Like I think Tara and Sam, they had very good sisterly chemistry with each other. I bought that.
I think that worked out more when they weren't having these like heart-to-heart moments. Those are the specific moments where I was just kind of out of it. I think outside of those moments, I was more into them like being together as sisters. But like having those, I don't know, those moments just because I think there was like 2 of them that came up that I was just like, I don't know, these are.
You know what it was?
With me.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, the reason why I think I didn't like Sam as much is because she's the one who engages with Sydney and Dewey and Gail Weathers the most, and like, so she's the new kid on the block, and it doesn't work as much. And then she also is like, she's almost like outside of 2 groups that are clearly they were more tight knit groups, even and it doesn't work as much because when she works with Richie, with Jack Quaid, like it works. And when she's working with Tara, Jenna Ortega, like it works, and like but like Jack Quaid can play that outsider, and like kind of play that like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. This is so weird, because like that's the role he's supposed to be playing, and so it works. But like with her being kind of like, I think I don't know if that was casting or what it was, because I don't want to throw it on her if I don't have to, because I don't like throwing things on actors, but like. There was it felt weird. There were some parts that felt weirdly wooden. Because I guess it wasn't the parts that Alan thought were. I liked those bits. Like,
yeah, I also had no problem with the parts with her and her sister. I think I might be more on Bobby's side. I think some of it is that like she is the first time that we've had a main character in Scream who's not really part of the group.
That is it, Neve Campbell?
Yeah, she's not solving the mystery like as a group, and she's also not part of the group of people like being killed off. Like we've never really had like 3 active groups of people before. And I do think that her character maybe suffered a little bit because of that. And I think some of it is just because, like, when she's talking to those older actors, those older characters, like, we have so much history with them, and she is not, like, her writing, I think, is not stacking up quite to that. She probably had to be added on a little bit more.
They had to throw more stuff into her, so it kind of feels forced sometimes. That's fair.
Yeah. She kind of has, like I think that this movie does a lot right as a requel, right? By having a lot of characters that have story elements baked into their backstory by being related to people that we already know. But I think that she kind of suffers the most from this because she doesn't have a lot of story for herself. Almost all of her backstory is, I found out I was Billy Loomis's, bastard child, and then I ran away. And, like, that's, like, all we have of her. And everybody else, like, we know they're related to somebody, but then they're also, like, their own person on top of that. So I think that might be part of the core problem.
I know, I buy that. Okay, so I do want to talk about a couple things.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about, because I know Alan wants to talk about it, I want to talk about the kills, and I want to talk about I want to talk more thoroughly that third act, because they mentioned themselves, welcome to the third act. So let's do the kills first, and then we'll talk about the third act. I think that makes the most sense. Let's do it.
Alan, why don't you mention a kill that you really liked and just talk about it for a minute? Tell us about it.
Yeah.
What did you like? Why did you like it? Mr. Gore
Maybe
of the podcast.
unexpected here, I think, from you. I think you guys are not going to expect this. I really like the kill of Judy. Because I think... so I was fully expecting her to get into the house, we're going to have a chase, we're going to have a traditional kill. And instead of giving me that, dead. On her front porch, broad daylight. Like, that just worked for me really well. It's not to say that I didn't love the Wes kill immediately following it. That was wonderful. Or even Dewey's kill. Like, it was so incredibly simple and quick. And we've talked about this before in previous episodes. Like, I like kind of unceremonious, out of nowhere, what the fuck just happened kind of moments in any horror slasher films. Like, those work for me really well. And this was like the epitome of that. You get this woman rushing. She's got to go save her son. Ghostface is going to kill her son, and she's dead. Like, it just worked for me super well.
I think a big part of why it works also is that, like, you have some of the build-up from not killing Wes is like it ends up being attached to her.
And blatantly doing a little homage to Psycho while you're in the middle of it for the second time in the franchise.
No, I agree. I mean, I really dug the Judy kill for that. I think for that same reason. I mean, I'm trying to remember for sure, but I think this is the first out in the open daylight kill in a Scream movie. I just watched them, and I'm not remembering any other ones. There are other ones that happen during the day, but not like out and about.
On a front porch, yeah.
Yeah. And something about that is definitely memorable.
The closest to that would be Randy, probably. But even then, I mean, that's like
there's some in Scream 3 that are like that. It's like, it's in the daytime, but they're in an enclosed space.
Yeah.
Bobby, how about you?
Okay. So this is what I'm going to say what I want to say first versus what is the truth.
Okay.
What I want to say is the Chad stabbing, because he ends up surviving in the end. I want to say that because that's very cool. It's very drawn out. Yeah. It's
the whole phone tracing thing.
Yeah,
I love the way they use like the sound of like the tracer. Him super cool.
Him figuring it out, him fixing it, and him ultimately paying off for in the end following the rules, right? Even if he doesn't right away, like
that was so good.
It's just very smart. The kill I like the most is Sam killing Richie. It's just so it's like it's again, it's one of those movies. This is a movie about homages, and an homage to its own series is just like, here's your final act, and then she fucking cleans the knife. It's just I was like, fuck, that's so cool. Like, and like, as much as like I understand that like Chad's kill or the stabbings of both twins thematically are much smarter sends. But like there's just some, like when she's just like, I went from thinking that Sam was did not understand the assignment, but how cleanly she's just like, I was like, fuck, she gets it. She's like what is this actress's name? Melissa Barrera. Like, she's just like, yeah. I was like, I was like, yeah, she can be whatever she wants to be in the sequel. That's fine to me. Because that was so goddamn cool.
Yep.
I also want to shout out, not a kill, but a part of a kill. When Amber gets her face smashed by hand sanitizer, hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
No.
The hand sanitizer. Just like, and then to just totally go over the top with that too and light her ass on fire. Way into it.
Everything with Amber made me laugh.
I love that Amber was completely over the top, like every single time she was on screen. Basically, it's okay, like there is never a point, even when she like flips the switch into psycho killer mode, where you were not believing that was her. Like well, this totally tracks.
For me, Amber was the one that set off the bells for me, where I'm like, I think this is the killer. Like, pretty much out the gate. I didn't suspect Richie as much. I mean, I thought with Richie, they were just going to be like, it's the boyfriend, but this is Scream, subvert, no. But then they subverted my subverted expectations.
So you bought it.
I think that's almost why it works, right?
Exactly. Yes.
You're like, it couldn't be him again, and then it just is.
Exactly, and then it just is. Like that is such the genius of this film because it knows what it's doing. Like it's written in a way where it understands its own assignment. You know what I mean? Like it understands.
I think that's true for the franchise as a whole. I mean, yeah.
I mean, so I've recently watched. I watched Scream 4 before I went and saw Scream 5. I watched Scream 2 yesterday. I watched an hour of Scream 3 before the podcast because we ended up recording a little late.
And for everybody's benefit, those were his first times watching not 4 but 2 and 3. He's watching this totally out of order.
I'm all over the guy. I'm chainsaw.
Why?
Watching.
Why would you watch 4 first?
Because he had this is why he had 3 months from when we did our Scream 1 episode in October, right? Everybody knows we did that, and he had 3 months to watch the other 3 movies before.
I even picked that movie for the show.
Chose instead to do none of that, and then before seeing Scream 5 was like, oh my god, I didn't watch any of the other ones. Thought to himself, well, I did see Scream 4 in theaters 10 years ago. I'll just rewatch that because that's not really cheating. Did that, and then watched Scream 5.
In my defense, I remembered more of Scream 2 than I thought I did because I've seen bits and pieces of 2 and 3. Not nearly as much of 3. Like, I'm watching that going, yeah, those are images that my brain maybe has picked up.
I've seen a gif of that.
Hey, you want to know why you haven't seen Scream 3? Popular take here. It's the worst one.
Unpopular take. Tinged with a popular take. Is it the worst one? Yeah, absolutely it is. I think that out of the 5 of them, Scream 3 is so clearly the middle valley along, but still very enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a ton of fun.
I haven't had a bad time watching any of these films.
It's Wes Craven. He can do no wrong. Even in this movie, which is for Wes Craven, but not a Wes Craven movie.
That is definitely something
Wes passed away.
To bring up. I really liked how after Wes dies in the film, they even say explicitly for Wes while they're
they have the party, they have the big banner, they're doing shots for Wes. It's like an extra level of meta that is very appreciated. Yeah.
It was done, Yeah.
It's not like they didn't let's bring it back to Star Wars. They didn't have this whole zoom in on this person's face and accentuate this person that's no longer there. No, it was very simple,
They did another great movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife. They did that. They did a really, really good homage to a very good member of the industry.
Okay, Bob.
I'm sticking by that. I literally talked with my therapist about this movie today. We both liked it, so whatever.
There you go.
Another key thing to bring up, because Bobby said you want to get into that third act, right?
I would love to get into that third act, but first we have to hear about Corbin's kill.
Yeah, I was saying before we jump in.
I thought you were doing Judy. My bad. Go ahead.
Oh, you did Judy. I'm just making comments.
All right, great.
Yeah,
let's hear
that's a conversation,
Yeah.
What podcasts are about?
Yeah.
Who would have thunk?
Yeah, if we didn't do that, we would make an oddly tightly edited video that's 10 minutes long. But we don't because we can't. I think that it would benefit us to talk about Dewey's kill. I mean, we mentioned it in the very beginning briefly. And it also happens to be one of my favorite moments, so I'm going to use it. But I think that entire hospital sequence is so good. I love that they not only have Tara, who is completely beat to hell right still, and is trying to escape, and you're seeing the effects of her wounds as she does this, and I love that they actually play into that, which a lot of movies just avoid. The lighting and there's a couple of shots of Ghostface that I guarantee are going to become iconic shots of him, from the franchise.
The two knives.
Oh my god.
In this instance, the Ghostface would actually be her.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, that's that first shot that we see of Ghostface in the hallway when she turns. right after killing Dewey, which I was like, at first, when, we see Ghostface stab him right in the front, and then he gets stabbed again, and I was like, wait a minute, we've never seen this before. And then it was until after she pulled out both knives. It's like, well, okay, like, that's sick. Like, that's an image that we've never seen. We've never seen Ghostface do this before. And I love how it played into this Ghostface, clearly the Amber Kills, I think, just being, like, over-the-top vicious compared to previous Ghostfaces. And I just love that characterization of Ghostface. And I think it really worked using it for Dewey in this moment, because, like, you couldn't let all three of them survive the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, like, killing one of them in a way that was iconic and, like, visually interesting and that really kind of keyed into the rest of the movie was important.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I it's really interesting because, like, you would characterize all of the Amber Kills as the ones that are the more extreme, and that the Richie Kills are the quick ones, are the more, like, it's almost as if Amber might have liked Stab 8.
Right.
Yeah, that franchise really went off the rails in the fifth one.
But let's. I agree. I think that Dewey kill is, like, again, like, they talk about, like, they rehash the "it's an honor" line to in the trailer to Sidney Prescott, but that's with Dewey. After she kills Dewey, it's been an honor, like, killing you. Like,
I love that.
Yeah, like, it's like, he doesn't give a shit. You just fucking gutted this man. What the fuck? You just ripped his spinal like, at the very least, right? Like, they fucking gave him, like, a fairly painless death, because she, like, rips up his spinal column.
Oh,
like,
yeah. It's like, it's brutal for you to watch, but
not for him to feel.
He definitely died pretty quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, even if he didn't die quickly, he was very numb. Yeah. Like, which is, whatever. But, like, sure. Well, like, they even mentioned it in the third act we're going to talk about in a second. That's a good transition to it. Is, like, they needed to make sure that the stakes were there. Yeah. And you were never going to think it was going to... You didn't think it was going to be Dewey. You didn't think it was going to be David Arquette. He, out of the three actors, he's the one on the rise again. He's the one getting back into acting.
I mean, if I was to guess going into the movie, it would have been Courtney Cox, Gail, that died.
Yeah. I haven't seen her. I haven't seen her in movies in a minute. Yeah. She's retired, as far as I know, for the most part.
Yeah. And I think that, the movie knows that. And I think that's part of why, like, killing Dewey is that much more impactful. Because going in, you probably figured, if they make a Scream 6, like, surely Dewey will be there.
Yeah. Well, and, like, Dewey is just so... It's hard not to like Dewey. Yeah. Like, he's just such a lovable guy.
He's been stabbed, like, 8 times in these movies. Yeah. Like...
For sure. And I think that, like, his real life relationship, of course, with Courtney Cox, right? The two of them, I think that plays into their characters so well. And you really see it in this movie, I think, with Dewey. And I really, really like that. Yeah. You're able to fill in a lot of blanks that, again, like, it's meta because, like, it happened in real life, so it's like you're kind of filling in the holes of their relationship with what you know of, like, the actors' relationships, and, like, it works that way.
I think they both used it in a really good way.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, they have, not to like get so far into it, but I've been in a much lesser degree situation where I had to share the stage where I was romantically co-star with a girl who I broke up with during the course of that play. And let me tell you, using that feels right as rain in the moment is super weird after and before. So, like, but it works. It gives things a little bit more gravitas. But yeah, let's get into the third act.
Yep.
So, we are all whodunit, Who done it? Amber pulls a gun and shoots the other girl in the face, and all of a sudden she says, "Welcome to the third act." And now Nev Campbell is here. Now Courtney Cox is here. They know it's
where
Amber.
Are they?
They're
Exactly.
In Stu's house.
They're at Stu's house.
So my first
all
question
right where
for
it
you
began.
guys will be, in this third act, how do we feel about the way that they reveal the killer? The first killer, Amber.
It feels right. For a requel, it feels correct.
For this, at this
I
point,
think
it feels
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
With how kind of unhinged Amber felt to me throughout, this just like totally over the top, like, well, here we are, kind of just, it felt right for her specifically. Like, it worked really well for me. And even Richie's kind of like deceptive to the very end reveal, I think also kind of plays into what they were trying to do with him as well.
You know why this feels so good? Is because it gives extra context to the scene where the girl twin, whose name escapes me, and Amber are downstairs getting beer, and because it's almost like she's going to go kill her at that point, and she goes, "How do you know I'm not the killer?" And she goes, "Because I'm the killer." And she goes, "Well, I can't kill you now. That's not a good enough story." And so she reuses it later when it's cooler to reuse it.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like because she's writing the movie right now, so she's got to have it happen at a good moment. That's why it works. It's somebody trying so hard to write this cool requel moment. I really fucking thought it was cool. I was like, oh, that's fun. They like it's somebody who is trying to write the script right now in a way that makes it best for her.
And I love how they toy with that moment because, like, it's clearly an homage at first to the point when Rose McGowan, I forget the name of her character, goes into the garage to get beer, you know, in the first movie.
Hey, Mr. Ghostface.
Yeah. And then it also kind of feels like an homage to the video store scene.
Yeah.
When Billy and Stu, right, are kind of like talking with Randy.
Okay.
And it's kind of cool how they like took those two moments in the original movie and like turned it into this new moment with an added layer on top of it. And it's just a very, very well written sequence, I think.
So we have that moment. And then she's running around and Richie's freaking out. Oh my god, Richie's freaking out. And Ghostface comes out. Oh no, sorry. I'm sorry. Nev Campbell, Sydney, and Gail show up. And she does the Stu thing with, oh my god, they attacked me. It looks like bait. Fuck it. Fucking shoot. Amber shoots a shot, shoots Gail. She runs inside. And now Sydney Prescott is on a mission to fucking kill Ghostface. And she's going room to room. Halloween 2018 style, being like, hey, listen, I'm shooting every door. I'm checking every door. If you do not show yourself,
Ghostface or not.
And then she finds Richie, and Richie's like, you got to get me the fuck out of here. This is bad. And Ghostface comes and tackles her down the stairs. Or Richie
I love
grabs.
that she does shoot Richie first.
Yeah,
in the leg, right?
Yeah.
So Richie's like, you shot me in the leg. I go for the knife. Sam's like, oh my god, we're safe. And then Richie pulls the double cross. Is the second killer. Knife to the stomach to Sam. And then we get the big reveal. Who wants to explain to me the big reveal?
Alan.
That's an Alan.
Yep.
What happens? Why are they killing?
Oh, well, they met on 4chan that they just named.
No, they met on Reddit.
No. They met on Reddit.
Yeah, our horror. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that was actually what that was called. I straight up thought they were trying to say Reddit.
Alan, not a real fan.
Oh, Jesus.
Correct.
Alan doesn't comment on Reddit on r/4, also known as Reddit.
Yeah.
But I honestly did not know that was what it was called. So here we are. But them meeting on there and finding out that they're big fans and basically psychos that just want to recreate their
They're not
requel.
psychos. Fandom couldn't possibly be toxic.
No, no way, shape, or form.
They don't want to.
They just
don't wanna,
love something,
and they don't want to recreate. They want to make the next sequel. They want to make it.
Yeah,
they want to make it good this time.
They want to make.
They're
the
trying to
better,
redo
Stab 8. Yeah.
Yeah, which like I loved. I love that because how many times have you seen that exact conversation happening online, especially, and we've mentioned it so many times with Star Wars. How many times have you seen that?
Gentlemen,
It's
I'm sorry.
perfection.
I'm sorry. We do this, and me especially. When I say a better movie would have done this,
Exactly.
I do it all the time.
Their motive is a better movie would be taken to the absolute pinnacle of that conversation.
Like I said, Scream 5 in the spoiler. Scream 5 made me hate the way I talk about horror movies.
Yeah, I love it for that.
It's maybe you learned a lesson today, Bobby.
Yeah.
So we find out that they're here to make the best Stab sequel possible.
Yep.
And then they go try to find they go to try to collect Tara, right? And which we had found earlier on that Tara had been tied up by, we assume, Amber. And Richie tried to convince Sam that Tara might have been the other killer.
Yeah.
And so while we're waiting,
for a minute think like,
it had me a little,
because I had thought earlier like, oh, Tara might be in on it, and so at that moment I was again like, well, what if Tara was in on it? Like, this is the moment.
A third killer?
I'm waiting for the Scream movie with 3 killers.
I was the guy in the theater being like, Sam, let her go. Sam, let her go. You gotta let her go. She's your sister. You know better. How could she have been a killer at any point in this time? She was like...
She was their pincushion.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, it doesn't make logical sense. But it turns out that Sam listened to me and let Tara go. Mm-hmm. And so Tara beats the ever-living fuck out of Amber with her crutch and runs away.
Yeah.
Right.
And then kills her in the end.
Yes. But we're not at that point yet.
Well, I mean, I don't know what we're doing here. So.
That's right. And eventually shoots her fucking charred half corpse. Which puts Richie into a tizzy. Richie runs around trying to figure out what's going on, which allows Sydney and Gail to have a huge thing with fucking Amber. Does anyone want to talk about that? That seemed like a moment that you guys wanted to talk about. I'm just spoiler warning this third act. Anybody, you can take the reins at any point.
I mean, I kind of mentioned it earlier. Amber getting lit on fire because she's covered in hand sanitizer after being then shot. Like, it's so ridiculous, but I love it. Love every second of it.
That bit is so good because it's so teenager of Amber talking to older people where like she's like, I'm just a kid, please, but he died like a pussy though, and it's just like where she's like, I'm gonna antagonize you, you guys can't hit me, but she doesn't necessarily understand the stakes of the situation of like,
she doesn't understand the 4 movies worth of murder that both of these 2 women have committed.
Oh, they're gonna kill you back, dog. Like, it's gonna happen. Like you're talking to Sidney fucking Prescott. Like, what are you doing?
She carries a gun.
Yeah. And then Richie finally catches up to Sam, who he's been chasing this entire time. And she finally sees her dad again, who points her to the knife in the corner. And she does, again, this kill. We've mentioned this kill like 10 fucking different times. She stabs him upwards of 20 to 30 times. And he asks, what about my ending? And she goes, here you go. And slits his throat and does the classic scream, clean the knife. And we finally see the ending of the movie. How did we feel about this third act? How did we feel about it as a whole? Did we feel like it lived up? Did we feel like it didn't?
I mean, it's I had pretty high expectations going into this film, just outright. Like this is one of the few of all the movies we've watched recently. I think my expectations were the highest for this film. Ooh, I might have had higher expectations for Malignant. I don't know why. Those were falsely placed.
Why would you?
I really was excited for that film, man. I don't want to go into it. This movie exceeded my expectations in almost every capacity, minus like little nitpicky things. And I don't even care about those as much right now. Like, this movie exceeded what I wanted it to be, and then some. So, all that is to say that this third act was wonderful. Like, it understood the assignment, Bobby.
You know what? We can third act this right into scores.
Right
hey, by
into
the way,
scoring?
by the way, we score as Corbin says every single week. I'm just gonna take this because it makes the most sense, and we're it's a loose pod this episode for one of our bigger episodes, almost assuredly because it's a new movie. It's a loose rep. We score 0 to 5 with half points allowed.
That's right.
And I'm gonna come out the gate and just give it the 5 that I think this movie deserves. I don't give a shit. I think this movie was wonderful. I think this movie easily stands alongside its same titled sister film, Scream. I think if we fast forward 6 months from now and someone goes, yeah, Scream 2022 is my favorite in the entirety of the franchise, and here's why I think it's the best, I think that's a pretty like rational take to have. I would maybe push back on it, maybe to some degree, but I don't think I would push hard on that take, because I think this movie takes it's you know, the better version of Star Wars Episode 7 is this movie. In terms of understanding the original and building off of what made that original great, while still kind of telling the same story. So, 5. I'll just go right up to it.
Okay. I'm going to go next. And only because, first of all, I see that Bobby is building some comments in his brain.
Yep.
And I figure, why not let him respond to the both of us all together? And also because Bobby called me out last week for going last a couple of weeks in a row. And so, first of all, I want to say I love that we've mentioned Episode 7, Star Wars, like, several times, and yet Halloween 2018, like, once, even though that is clearly...
Which is like, this is what this is based
that's
off
clearly
of.
the movie, to actually make the comparisons to. Like, they mentioned them in this movie. They name, like, the 5 or 6 other movies that this movie is basically ripping on. One of them is that one, and then Jigsaw, and so on and so on. Anyway, I think that this movie is... smart. I think that it's good for a lot of the same reasons that the original one is good. I think it's good for a lot of reasons that the other Scream movies are good. I think that it kind of knows how to play with the meta angle without being too overbearing. I like that it is also a good version of the movie that, like, the Halloween 2018, like, that style of same titled decades later sequel. I think it does a really good job with that. Like, it plays with its own motifs in a really smart way, and I think that they did a great job bringing Scream back into the modern era, and I don't know if we're going to see more, but I really hope that we do. And I am going to be right there, and I'm going to give it a 5 too. Because I just can't think of anything that I disliked enough to drop points on. I think that's the thing. It's like,
exactly.
I don't know. I'm definitely biased. Scream. I've said probably for my entire life that Scream is my favorite slasher franchise. I think that you probably knew that already if you've been listening to this, because I gave the original a 5 as well.
I want to give a different reference.
Yeah.
For me and producer Mel's wedding shower, we had a friend's wedding shower, and we did a Halloween party for that. And Corbin's wife, Jill, and his daughter, Sophie, went as Thing 1 and Thing 2. And Corbin went as Ghostface.
and to stack on top of that, that's like the 5th or 6th time I've dressed up as Ghostface for Halloween.
And
the first time I did it, I was like 9. So like this is.
Listen.
So take my score with a grain of salt, I guess.
The only reason I have to say this is because I'm just gonna say right off the top, I will not be giving this movie a 5 out of 5.
Yeah,
I had to preface this because my two co-hosts, who I trust their opinions greatly, this movie's really fucking good. It is the Halloween 2018 of the Scream franchise. The problem is unlike the Halloween 2018, there are some flaws. There are some moments that are weird and drag and feel off. There are some bits that feel kind of wooden. I've mentioned them. There are some stuff that did not quite work for me that I just didn't feel right. And I went into this being like, just leaving this movie was like, I like this. This was good. And the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. But I never thought this movie was a 5. So I'm going to go with what I think this movie really is for me. And I think it's a 4 out of 5. It's a really strong 4 out of 5. It's a movie you should go see. You really should. But it's not perfect, but most horror isn't, and that's okay. And I
was gonna give it a 4.5. Honestly, that was how I felt when I came out of the theater. It was 4.5, and I managed to see it in the theater day of recording, so this is a recent adjustment. And it was kind of like, just while talking through it, I was like, like, do I even want to take that half point off? Like, were there points that I disliked enough? That's kind of like where I came to it. And I think also, like, just as a capstone, I think a potential capstone to the franchise, I think it does a good job with that. But I think a 4 out of 5,
I think so too.
more than admirable. Despite all of that, though, do we think it's essential? Now, of course, as we all know, a movie being essential or not has nothing to do with its scores, which, if you skipped ahead to this point, were a 5 from Alan, a 5 from me, and a 4 from Bobby, which, all told, is an incredible score and one of the highest that we've given on the show. But, spoiler-free, do we think it's essential? Going in reverse order.
I know you would,
our
baby.
Scores. Yep. Bobby, kick us off.
I was having a lot of thoughts about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking. And the answer to this question is Scream 5 or is 5 Cream essential?
Scream 2022.
Yes. The reality is no. It's really good. It's a good capstone. It's a good ending. It's a good addition to the Scream franchise. But it ultimately does 2 things more than anything else. It does a Halloween 2018, and it does a Scream 1. And unfortunately, both of those movies have been done. It's a good requel for Scream, but the first requel's already happened, so it is not essential, right? And it is not Scream. Because it is Scream, you know what I mean? It's not a new, like, it's just a continuation of Scream, and it's probably the best Scream movie since Scream, but it's the best movie since Scream, right? Mm-hmm. So it's very good. If you like Scream and if you like horror, you should go watch it, but it just doesn't fit the criteria of it for me, of essentiality. And I might be Bobby Island on this one. I'm already Bobby Island on the scoring, but that was my thought on it. It was like, this is really good. I really like this, but like, it's not going to be the movie that I go, oh, you haven't seen Scream 5? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta see that. You know what I mean? So that was why it's not essential.
Okay, I think that's fair. It's funny because this was a tough. I think this one was tough.
Because again,
for all the reasons that you just mentioned, I mean, those are the arguments, right? It's like, okay, well, like there's kind of a sub argument there of like, can any of the Scream sequels be essential when they're kind of all doing the same? They're all good for the same reasons, but they're all doing the same thing that the original did, which is like riffing on a specific aspect of the slasher industry. Like, does that make it essential?
Overly meta to what was the line?
over meta whodunit slashers.
No,
meta. Yeah.
That's the line from the movie. Sorry, spoiler alert. That's the line from the movie.
Yeah. And I think that for me, the question kind of ends up being like, can something be important again despite being done already? And you even mentioned like, this isn't the first requel, and I think that that's fair for sure, but I don't think that alone, would make something unessential. I think that that's kind of jumping the gun a little bit.
Sure.
On other movies like that, I'm like struggling with it even as
I know. I can hear you waffling right now.
For sure. Because like I loved it. I think I would recommend this movie to anybody, right? And I think that part of it is that like you can watch this movie after only seeing the original. I would say even that the only other movies you need to have seen to really enjoy this movie are Scream and Halloween 2018. And that probably gets you there. You don't even have to see all the other 3 Scream movies. And I'm just gonna say yes. I'm just gonna say yes. I want to say yes.
Wait. Can I challenge you before you commit to yes?
Yeah, of course.
Isn't having those several movies as legwork kind of taking away from it being essential?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Do you think it? I mean, like, no, because I think that would disqualify like any sequel from being essential. I mean, I think that most sequels,
not necessarily.
But I think that a good sequel is like building on movies before it. Don't you think?
Yes, but I guess. But is it you can build on something without it need it being required reading?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that you actually have to see those other movies to enjoy Scream 5, but I mean, like, I think you're gonna get like, I think that like enjoying 100% of the movie includes watching like 20 other movies, but enjoying like 90% of the movie only includes watching 3 other movies. And I don't know. I think in the end, I think it's going to be a yes for the same reason, for a lot of the reasons why I would say that other Scream sequels have the potential to be a yes, which is that they are playing the meta angle right at the right time. I think that this movie is playing off of this like subgenre at the exact right moment, while also being a great movie in its own right. And I'm not saying that any of the other Scream movies are essential. We'll get to those eventually, but I think that is kind of what makes it a yes for me. Plus, it's a great slasher. So, I don't know. I might regret this later, but I'm going to say yes for now.
I want to start with, at least the past 2 films have been fairly large gaps between releases. So, between Screams 3 and 4, there's 11 years. Between Screams 4 and 5, there's 11 years. And it seems like when Scream comes around, it's pretty damn good. And it's pretty on the money with what it's trying to do. This is the original trilogy didn't really have that, since they came out 96, 97, 2000. So they wrapped up the whole saga pretty quickly there.
Scream 4 was weirdly panned though, right?
I don't know.
I don't remember what the
remember-
critical response was, but I know that it is looked at fondly now.
Yes.
And it
I
is
liked it
seen
when I
as
first saw it, and I liked it when I watched it 2 days ago. It was a
I
grand
did too.
old time.
I love Scream 4. I think
Scream
that
4 is great.
I would probably say up until today, I would have said that it was the second best Scream movie.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
This is all to say that when Scream comes out, it seems special. It seems like this is something to take note of across the spectrum. I mean, if you want to just look dollars and cents, this movie made $87 million in 4 days. Like, that's amazing. Like, that's wonderful.
And this is during COVID time.
Exactly. Imagine with a peak actual box off. Like, this is it finally knocked Spider-Man out of the top box office spot, which if you're going to knock a superhero out of the top spot, that's a pretty tough cookie to beat. This is all to say that I think Scream reaches farther than just your typical horror audience because of what it is. Is that in part because of the laurels of the previous films? Absolutely. You can't deny that. I think this movie takes those and shifts them for itself in a way that's interesting on its own right, while also making sure that it does its own thing. So for that, I think absolutely it is essential. I think this movie should become required reading within horror. I'm going to go harder in the paint, I think, than anybody else here. I think I'm be willing to stand by this take in a year, because I think it'll still be very true.
Well, gentlemen, I guess we're welcoming you to Bobby Island. And unfortunately, I have all the coconuts.
Oh, no. Bobby, how do we... Never mind.
Alan, you know exactly what you need to do to get the coconuts.
That is correct, I do. So speaking of coconuts, pineapples, parrots, oh my, what are your handles? What are you doing? Where can we find you? What you been up to? Babu, take it away.
Me,
yeah.
You can find me and all my relevant socials at my Twitch, twitch.tv/theredweenie. I'm essentially at this point for the last couple months been using that exclusively as my twit longer, my Linktree. You can find my Twitter, my Instagram there. Nothing really super important happens there. I occasionally post gym pics or when I'm going live on Twitch, or food, or my dogs, or my beautiful fiance. I have been doing primarily Destiny, almost actually exclusively Destiny this week, as Witch Queen is getting closer and closer, and I want to get as close as I possibly can, because between Witch Queen, Elden Ring, and my wedding, something's gonna have to give, and I don't want it to be Elden Ring, and it's not going to be my wedding. So
would have been funnier if you said those. Yeah. If you said those in the other order.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want it to be my wedding, and it's not gonna be Elden Ring. But so I've been playing a lot of Destiny. And a decent. Well, I was going to play I was going to build some more Warhammer stuff, but unfortunately I left my glue at Corbin's house when we were hanging out last. So I can't build some of my Warhammer or 40k things that I got from our little gift exchange that we did with friends who are our 40k friends. But yeah, find me on there. I stream with, we're going to be, now that we all have Vex Mythoclast, which means nothing to any of you who play Destiny, but some of you probably only stick around for this Destiny talk at the end. Hey, hello. Now that we all have Vex Mythoclast, we'll be streaming random raids, or we'll be streaming the other 2 raids, Garden of Salvation and Last Wish, for the last couple weeks. So, want to watch me struggle understanding those 2 raids that I haven't ran 1,000 times. Could be fun. From my point of view, it's probably the least. Yeah, it's probably the least.
Could be fun. Will be funny.
Yeah, definitely will be funny. You might even see me, like I did last week, candidly yell at somebody because I asked them to stop talking and they just wouldn't.
Or hear us laugh hysterically for like 5 minutes straight.
Yeah, it's great. Good times. The Destiny weekly streams with our raid team is actually, they're very fun times. I would highly recommend hopping in on them. But yeah,
and all 3 of us are on there every week.
Every single week.
it's really just extra Essential Scares content. You can hear us talk about all sorts of other things because the other three guys we play with don't watch horror movies.
or talk much, except for Nick, who tries to explain the raid mechanics to me every week, and I go, huh?
You want me to stand where?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, hey, you can find me anywhere at Corbangarang. I tweet a lot, so follow me on Twitter. That's my main thing. I tweet about Warhammer, Halo, Destiny, Transformers, movies, all sorts of stuff. I'm currently very excited for Moon Knight to be premiering next month, or I guess March, so not quite next month yet. In March, anybody that's known me for a while knows that Moon Knight is my favorite Marvel superhero and has been for a long, long time. So this has just been like a decade of waiting since, things really got under wraps. So I'm pumped for that. So if you're into that, hey, follow me. I'll just tweet about Oscar Isaac, I guess. Alan, where can we find you?
You can find me at A Seal Punter, just about anywhere. I have not been playing a lot of games, but Pokemon comes out tomorrow. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. Pokemon is out right now. It is the 28th of January. So I'll be picking that up tomorrow and playing that.
I'm gonna buy it right now.
There you go. Do it to it.
I'm going all digital, baby.
Love that.
It's a solid move.
Yeah.
it's a pretty good play. The only thing I have been doing, though, is I've been listening to more books while driving into work.
Oh, I love that.
I finished the
Big book guy.
Most recent Stephen King novel of Billy Summers. It was interesting. I liked it. And then I went back to Dr. Sleep because I never finished it. I got
Dr. Sleep is really
months
good.
and months. It's a wonderful book. I was way into it, and I just stopped listening to it kind of out of the blue. I don't really know why. So I'm re-listening to that. I have like 10 hours left of it. So I've got about...
It's a sequel to The Shining.
Which The Shining is... We will absolutely cover the movie at some
point.
Actually,
I had a buddy who, after reading the book and watching the movie of Dr. Sleep, became sober because of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those, honestly, we'll probably end up covering both of those films, Dr. Sleep and The Shining, at some point, because The Shining is an absolute classic. But that's about it in my life. Corbin,
love that.
Where can we find this podcast? Like, what's up with that?
That's a great question. You can find the podcast anywhere at Essential Scares. We're active on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and all of our socials have links to our Discord where we talk about music, movies, and more. What's that? Bobby made a face like this.
Move on.
Whatever.
It's not about you. It's not about you.
Oh, okay. Well, I just figured, it might have been about me. We'll probably, Alan mentioned it, we'll probably be talking about The Shining and Dr. Sleep in a future Stephen King themed month. I would wager we'll probably do a whole month of King. But that's not what we're doing coming up. In fact, next month is a new month, new theme, February, and we're doing Hillbilly Horror to celebrate Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming out on Netflix, which is a requel of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah! Yeah, brother! Hell yeah, brother! Let's go, brother!
So, next week, we're going to be watching the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Hell yeah.
Thank you to everybody for watching and listening. If you like the show, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with your friends and family, and, comment, send us a message, let us know what you like, what you don't like. If you have ideas for themes or movies that you'd like us to cover in the future, toss them our way. Let's get that going. Thank you to Alan and Bobby for being on the show with me. I have been your host, Corbin, and this has been Essential Scares.
Play that elevated breakdown, baby.